It's funny because the only way to explain free will is through three things that I've realized in that are basically the same thing in a way. And those things are what happened before the Big Bang, magic, and quantum mechanics, which in my mind I've decided that's all the same thing. And it's really interesting because so if you look into like determinism and the science behind why we don't have free will and the understanding of that, and it makes complete sense as to why we don't have free will because everything came before something. There's a history behind everything. Complete sense. However, nobody will ever be able to ever explain what happened before the Big Bang. No scientist could ever explain that. And then leave space for magic, which is like quantum mechanics, I think. And they say that quantum mechanics is just randomness, but is that not magical? That magical randomness of something that makes absolutely no sense. We cannot understand it, and it's not following the previous events. Which, yeah, so it's magic. And it's funny because like with a non-duality perspective, it's like I'm really holding both truths now. It's like, and it's for me, I feel like yes, on a personal egoic level, we have absolutely no free will whatsoever. We our ego is completely this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. Oh, and I'm tired from last night, and then I felt a little bit more hungry, and then I decided to have ice cream because this happened, and I like this flavor of ice cream because I first used to eat it when I was with my nan. And then so the only thing that might be making a choice would be the soul, the real inner us, the real us, because even though the ego and who I am now as a person is real in a sense, it's not really real. It's just a calculation of everything that's come before. Thousands of ancestors, stardust, and thoughts and ideas and chain reactions from the environment I was brought up in and the environment I'm in now has led me to be exactly who I am. And I feel, but, perhaps, and it does make sense now, with going back to how on earth did we even get here in the first place, because that will never make sense to the human mind, and it doesn't make sense, and it won't. I don't think it makes sense to anything. The only room left is for magic and complete randomness, complete strangeness, and which is in science called quantum mechanics. So isn't that wonderful? And to hold both, and that's what I was trying to explain, but I couldn't explain it, but to hold both ideas of that we have absolutely no free will, but then when you realize that, you really remember that you are just a complete part of the universe at all times. And it goes back into like Buddhist perspectives and lots of different spiritual or religious perspectives that you can find not only within those, but within yourself when you meditate and stuff. We are all one. We're all exactly who we're meant to be, where we're meant to be. Everything is meant to be. However, there's also magic, and that's crazy. And so what I'm trying to say is when you surrender to the fact that the ego, the egoic mind, the person that you think you are has no control. You let the universe guide you deeper than it ever has, in a sense. Or not that it ever has, but you realize that guidance. You realize that protection. You realize the reality that you are the universe experiencing itself within you. And that was always a truth, and it's so wonderful to be able to back it up with science. From when I've gone so away with like magical thinking, and it wasn't bad, but I feel like I can hold both now, both perspectives. It's wonderful. It's really odd. And yeah, surrendering to the universe as deeply as possible. But in the same sense, whatever's going to happen will happen. It's so bizarre. It's so unbelievably bizarre to be alive. And I am grateful to be alive. And it's mad that like what I'm talking about is not commonly talked about that much. And obviously there are communities of people talking about it. It's one of the main reasons why I've started this YouTube channel, is just to speak about these things. But it's funny because it feels so obvious now. And it's not to say that I have all the answers. I don't have the answers, but it's what's a lot of this is very obvious now. And you know, the mind protects itself. Well, it thinks it's protecting itself by really holding on to the concept of self. But we are just all one. It's very interesting. But then you can like go in and out of both sides of the argument, and to hold both sides is just amazing. Anyway, it's funny that yeah, I don't know what's funny. It's all funny. Anyway, that's another weird rambly video about this existence that we are all experiencing. How wonderful, how magical, how strange, how bizarre, and how perfect. You are perfect.